Hello, and welcome back to a lot of ideas went into one game, and some of them worked. Scraps a lot of games, but especially this one. Of the ones that I have played, this has the most ideas that didn't work and also did work.
It was very imaginative. Oh, you actually...
While ripping everything off, yes. Yeah, I have to fight the evil minions. Because, see, he has a bunch of minions, and I gotta fight them. And the greens are still the greatest
threat of them all.
And because they work on me exactly like they work on other things. So that's a little bit of nice detail.
Just look at you now.
I've weakened the Tower Heart, darling. Now you need to go after him. Get your minions back. That's the only
That walk cycle?
chance.
There are bugs in there. Does no one sweep up around here?
Nothing like a little snack with your entertainment.
So they're sort of setting it up as these people have sides that they've chosen, but they're really just observers at this point. It's all about the wizard and us.
Oh, and we have spells.
Yeah. So
They were
remember
just
last
lying there on the
episode-
ground.
Remember last
You
episode
were
where
a
she threw
decent
something at the Tower Heart?
Overlord.
Well, now we've got... Oh, yes. We were a decent Overlord. He might even miss us. And then cutscene happened.
Master? Master? Master?
I don't really know why we got our minions back,
Sorry,
but
sweetie.
we did. The
You
Browns.
just barged in with that pretty ice maiden in tow.
I
didn't
am
say ice.
very confused because, like,
He's been Overlord a lot longer than you, but you're a fast learner.
but you just betrayed me.
Yeah, but they're all I mean, he didn't really betray us. He just praised the other guy.
Did you
Like,
have fun
you gotta remember, they're all
with
just
your
spectators
old
now.
Friends? Don't you remember how they left you for dead? The tower remembers. It has absorbed their whinings, their betrayal of you. Listen to them.
Actually,
So-
I'm kind of curious. If you happen to, like...
Dead? Surely no one could have survived that fall.
If you happen to say...
He fought beside us. There may still be a chance.
That voice acting kills
We
me.
gotta go. Take what we can and get out of here.
It's like what I do.
Mm-hmm.
He's right.
No.
He vanquished the evil. He is
I know you're gonna cut all this. I'll do my impression after.
Then my minions found you, healed you.
They're explaining the entire plot right now, which is poorly set up in the rest of the game, in my opinion, because they should have set this up early so it made sense that you could choose to be good Overlord or bad Overlord. Like, the context that you were given for your character does not explain why you would choose to be good, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like you could be good or you're not. It's a game made in 2007. It's like a
Right.
requirement.
As opposed to another game made in I think a little later, but a similar period, BioShock, actually around the same time,
I think so.
where you had reason to choose either way. It doesn't mean that those are perfect. There's lots of problems with the systems, but just like you had motivation, one way or another, and you don't here.
Mm-hmm.
But
Or like in The Witcher, which was also made around the exact same time, which had a great system for good and evil, which wasn't actually just you're good or evil. You could be a mix.
the dichotomy of morality is a fallacy. Do you like how many different dumb words I said there? Anyway, point being, no, we must help him, is exactly what you would get if you asked me to voice that character in Okage. It's 100% the voice I would do.
Mm-hmm. But
And then you'd get it and you'd be like, I gotta modulate the shit out of this so it doesn't sound like crap. Anyway, continue.
yeah, like you were saying, this isn't.
It's one of those pixie hive thingies. I think they're important.
Motivated.
Maybe you can
You're
find
you're
more.
just making decisions without motivation. Like your internal motivation outside of the game Oh, did you see that, by the way? 2 of the minions carrying it couldn't fit on the bridge, so they still were in their carrying animation, but went beside it.
Oh, that's
Great.
just normal.
But right, so what we're doing here is we're regaining all our minion hubs. So we got to go quest for them, and they give you like supreme minion equipment on the way.
Ooh, nice.
So that's why they all have these weird Centurion helmets and stuff, and they're also why they're beating up their unequipped evil counterparts so easily. Not
Okay,
just
like
because
what I was gonna say is, if you were to actually choose to be good, and spare all of the other overlords, I wonder what that would actually change for this section.
their tactics were mostly make it so that regardless of what people choose, our dialogue is fitting. And then occasionally, heavy-handed reference to your choices. As you might expect from something from this era.
Yeah, it's like, freaking, I remember Infamous, where it had
God.
like the.
Can we talk about Infamous and Crackdown and how much I expected to love those games and how much I hated them?
Like, with Infamous, the choice system was. I don't know if they really just wanted to make it really superficial, because you get choices between saving a girl and giving her lollipops, or sacrificing her so you don't get damaged, things like that.
So you're saying BioShock. Why do you hate BioShock so much, Nico? Do you hate Kim Levine? No, his name is not Kim. What is his name?
I don't know.
The BioShock guy.
If you defeat him, I'll gladly
Subscribe and like and comment below if you know the name of the guy who made BioShock.
I don't actually
yeah.
say it in the comments.
Impress me. You liven the place up.
So yes, if you walk by them, they keep saying stuff, and there'll be plenty of time for that later. But I needed 10 reds to to get the blue hive, which is necessary to progress eventually.
No, I mean, blues are useful anyway.
But all my reds just so I have 9 left. So anyway, Nico, morality in
Jesus
games,
Christ, do they need to respawn every single time?
they do. So I just leave my browns rallied there and then go get more reds, and it makes the world a little better because my browns are, like I said, equipped
They're
like gods,
preventing
and
the
reds-
respawn.
Reds suck. Actually, they effectively prevent it, but I think it still happens anyway. Anyway, morality in games sucks.
Damn it.
Yep. Morality in games sucks because you can't program all the outcomes of morality, and there's no way to make morality a small number of outcomes, basically, and satisfying. Because that's not... If the world worked that way, we'd all be less confused.
Yeah, I mean, Witcher made a good attempt at doing it, where things that you did had lasting consequences for not just the main plot, but also many of the side things that you do.
And I guess that's a good point. Like, the main problem with the morality systems isn't the fact that they're trying to make things have consequences, is that they're trying to prescribe, as you said, a dichotomous differentiation between the two outcomes, as opposed to the continuum that it actually presents of, near a nigh infinite number of different results, which have different, depending on your perspective, desirability.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that all games that have a choice system are bad.
Right.
I mean, Fable
Choice-
is very
Choice is fine.
like
Morality is a minefield.
Like, I'm not gonna say that Infamous is a bad game, because it's not. I'm also not gonna say that Fable is a bad game, although that one is like super guilty of making the choice system incredibly, just incredibly, like, you get angel wings or horns, depending on how good or evil you are.
And that's the redeeming grace of this game, in my opinion, is the fact that I can view this entire game as a parody of the period's morality system. It's partly, it was really just that, as far as I can tell, the developers got a memo from corporate which said, morality systems are the way to go nowadays. We got that in the Bioshocks and the other things and the Fables coming out soon. We gotta have one of them. And then they made one, but it was kind of begrudgingly. And this is my headcanon. I don't know if this is actually what happened. And then that's what led to this magnificent mess of a system.
And at the very least, this game does actually, like, from the moment you pick it up, it pretty much has a prescribed evil intent for you, in a way, you know.
And then they kind of ruin that at the end. Yes.
Yeah, but like, you know, you look at the you look just at the box. Let's say you just look at the box.
Right.
And
how
just
and how it has sold itself. And that's why being nice isn't the greatest choice.
yes.
Unless you ask Coach C. But, yeah, so I do like that they give your minions all this really great equipment right at the end, because this part's a real slog, especially if you do what I did originally and don't quite understand what's going on and go the wrong way and stuff like that. But at least your minions don't just, like, instantly die all the time. And let's get rid of those reds because they're useless now that we've done the fire stuff.
I'm going
And
to
now
help my
we
father
need-
bring order to the world.
That was
I
Rose.
don't
You walk
go
by
with
people and they
losers, my
talk to you.
darling. So prove yourself.
She doesn't go with losers. We gotta prove ourselves.
There's just
And if there's one thing you want in life, it's the lady with the telekinetic bra to be on your side.
It would have been even better if her telekinesis actually worked based on, like, with her just rubbing her
she's
tits.
established as a telepath. She just holds her fingers to her temples, and she can mind message us with a little bit of power from the tower heart, or whatever it was.
Something. I still like to think that what actually happens is the electricity from the friction between her boobs.
Ah, there you go. They send a radio signal out, and all the metal in our armor picks it up.
Receives it, yes.
There you go. You've cracked the case.
Oh, and that's how we get the greens.
Yeah, which
Fucking
yep. Isn't this fun?
yeah.
But I do like the fact, like I said, that they act the same way against us as they did against enemies.
Yeah, they don't
That
have
is-
any sort of secret ability that they can use now, which would have been extremely helpful for us.
Right.
All
It's not like
along.
it's not like they threw a bunch of poison bombs at us, which just insta killed us or something.
Yeah.
And then it's also like how we fight against them makes us think about like how we can use them, and then they decide to go that way for some reason. I don't know, man.
Well, there is poison here.
Sure, there's also an infinite amount of minions, if you remember, over there.
Bunch of idiots.
And they
Oh
could
no,
have walked over.
there's a poison cloud over here. We couldn't possibly. Oh no, we're getting murdered.
Yes, pathfinding. A-Star was a little bit beyond these people. But Browns, as what Gnarl says.
I would think
Browns.
I wish there was at least some sort of an indication what route they're gonna take, because this is really unpredictable.
Yes, a little arrow that just told you like where they're heading. Not
Yeah,
even necessarily
or
what route they're going to take, which direction they're going to head next, you know? Just like a small bit of lead so that I could go the right way as opposed to falling behind and falling asleep.
because they clearly know where they're gonna go, they could at least give some kind of pointer.
But I will say they actually don't, because if you remember, the way that they find their way is by running the most direct route, and then if that doesn't work, they back up and run the second most direct route, and so forth and so on.
But for the like for picking up story important stuff or upgrades, it should pretty much be, you know, it should possibly be possible to automate this somewhat.
You're saying that they should have actually put a route in for the minions to follow,
Yeah.
as opposed to like generating it on the spot.
Yeah, because these things are always going to be in that particular spot or on the way.
Yeah, but you gotta remember the NPCs just randomly walk in your path and don't let you pass, because clipping is always on.
The good always want to be heroes. They're so predictable. And so are you.
No, like what I meant was that those NPCs were one of the best indications that they don't actually really think too much about their path, because they didn't go around them.
Yes.
Right?
Right. They just continuously tried to go through them. Okay, so this boss fight, it actually isn't that hard to figure out once you know what's going on here.
He is resistant to magic.
No, he is vulnerable to the color that he has turned.
Oh. So now it's browns.
Well, actually, once he warps, he's just like not in. It's when he puts up the shield. So like now he's vulnerable to greens. So greens can attack him now. Oh, and if you listen to him, he's continuously telling you basically how he seduced the heroes to the side of evil slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit interesting, but to have it all delivered as a final boss fight plot point as opposed to built up throughout the game.
Like it's just a thing that shows up at the end. It's like, I was the villain all along. That person that you never saw before.
It was the foppish evil lieutenant. I should have known. Yes. No. It's a little bit of a letdown. This guy is pretty annoying because if you time out against him, he teleports. I hate teleportation as a mechanic for anything. It's really annoying, and
because you can't do it.
And unless it is built up, once again, anything that's built up in the story is fine, but otherwise, nah.
Yeah, like him, it's the kind of thing I really dislike about a lot of RPGs, where they just it's just like, this evil guy was responsible for everything that happened.
Yeah, and they kind of they did hint at it a little bit earlier, but it's not like.
But you never see him, and that's important.
You didn't think, oh, this is the guy you have to kill, you know?
Yeah.
So when you get him to half health, it cuts scenes, and then, by the way, flamethrower here. I mean, if you want to insta-kill him, go for frenzy. But tactically speaking, flamethrower is really good because you can just hold down the target button and the flamethrower button, and it'll kill all the non-reds like instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just avoid him whenever he's doing this spinny bullshit because he'll just
can't survive.
He's basically like one of the beholders from earlier at that point.
Oh.
Just
so
anything
he's bullshit.
Knock down and dealt damage. And it's just like, stop teleporting unless whatever.
Stop
But,
teleporting.
yeah.
I'm not fast enough to keep up with you.
So you just need to keep minions off of you, and keep the right color minions on him. And it's very easy once you kind of realize what you're supposed to do. It took me a little while to figure it out, to be honest, because I'm dumb. But once you figure out, you attack him with the color that he's turned, and then you just avoid him the other times, and then it's
And
not
then
that hard.
he's a whirlwind.
Yeah, the whirlwind I honestly thought was a color that I was supposed to attack. The first, I failed this, I think.
I mean,
twice.
it is slightly red tinted.
Yeah, so I thought that I was supposed to do that, but no, it's only when he's got the bubble around himself. And you have to have some of every kind of minion. So those bugs that are out in the general area where you can harvest life force from are extremely vital.
The good. They don't know how close to evil they really are. I think she likes you, Sir William. If you want to slip away with her.
And so the evil Overlord defeated the other evil Overlord, and the land rejoiced. His domain flourished. The very land itself bore the mark of his corruption.
Remember when we were evil? This is telling us that we were evil.
Evil became a part of everyday life.
Oh, it was a pasm all along, aspiring to be us.
His minions went forth and multiplied.
Yes, the minions went and had sex with human women.
His mistress and all their little minions lived happily ever after.
She's ready for her close-up. So, corruption 46%. You can be at 100%.
You're only almost 50% evil.
You can be 100%. Oh, wait.
But
What's
evil
this?
will always find a way.
It was the Jester all along!
I knew it.
High five. Okay,
Yes.
wait. Read these names as we go through.
Leonard Sass.
Van Wingern, Nyland, Brand,
So they're all from the Netherlands.
Jongbloed, Grevendonk, Wijfwinkel, Van der Leij,
Van Ley, yeah.
Weijers.
Weijers.
So, if you ever wanted to know, how could you make a game
Joost.
about being Vogelsong? How could you make a game about
Van
being evil
Verkoven.
and like just different ways of being evil, and your ultimate goal was making money? Ask the Dutch.
Like, more than a half of this team is from Dutchland. I wonder if the studio is not,
I think that if I remember correctly, I looked this up when I actually did this like 3 or 4 months ago. The headquarters were for the development of this was in the Netherlands.
that makes sense. Why so many Dutch people are involved?
It's not like for the voices or things like that, but
Oh, I wouldn't bet my horses that they wouldn't.
But my main point, Vane Mom. But my main point was just that the Dutch are morally bankrupt people, and I can say that because I am one.
Yeah, and I can also confirm that because I live here.
Yeah, you know.
Exactly.
You teach Dutch to people,
Uh-huh.
and the
I
first thing
morally
you tell
corrupt them with the language.
the first thing that you tell them is This is Satan's language. Like, imagine how Satan would talk. He'd be like,
Exactly. No normal person would make that kind of sound.
you have to be possessed in order to make the Dutch G.
Uh-huh.
It's true. But
It's
that
a
was my
fact of
main.
life.
That was something I was really looking forward to showing you. Was just the fact that so many people who worked on this were out at Nederland. Or
Mhm.
out Nederland. There are people from other places. Like, it's a international company.
Yeah.
But
QA team, we know who to blame.
I will say, regardless, like, it's not like Sonic Boom where the QA suggestions weren't taken and so it became unplayable. This game is fun.
Yeah,
I complained
It
infinitely
is very
about
playable, but it has a few things
Right.
about it.
it. Right. But they fixed any problems which would make it unfun.
Mm-hmm.
I would give it.
I would say a 7.
I was gonna say a 7. I was trying to decide if it was a 6.5 instead. Let me put it this way: if I hadn't been doing it for the for this playthrough, I would have given up about a fourth of the way through. But I was glad that I continued on. So yeah, I'll say 7.
Yeah,
Because-
I think it's a solid 7 overall. Not ideal, but there really aren't that many games of this sort.
And it is very, in my opinion, correct me, and say something in the comments below if you disagree. But in my opinion, it's actually rather unique.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I haven't played a million Pikmin knockoffs where you're evil. This is the only one I've played or even heard of.
That is true. There really aren't that many Pikmin knockoffs, period.
And it's fun, and it was $5 on Steam when I got it, and that was completely worth it.
Good.